You changed your art piece on your wall.
Oh yeah, that's true. Welcome to Pardon
Part
My
of my
Mind with
mind.
Rachel and Hero. Just we
That's
gotta get that
me.
out of the way. Gotta get that out of the way.
I know.
I can have a long conversation about where that artwork came from, but yeah, my art is different. Basically I switched, and it's hard to tell from this. It's actually a woman. See the woman's head at the top,
Yep.
and she's got this lovely cloak on, and it's almost like a mother Earth kind of thing, because there's like some kind of creatures in her cloak and nature. And anyway, it's a Brazilian artist. So nature in your cloak.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
Hey, interesting.
Yes.
Before we get completely off tangent and on some weird, I don't know, topics that I don't quite understand sometimes where Hero's going with certain things, we'll introduce our guest that will pop on momentarily here. So Alice Starr, you may recognize that name already if you are, some diehard fans of our podcast, because we've had Alice on in the past, and of course I don't remember the episode number now, but we'll put it in the show notes. So this is Alice's second time with us, and the reason why, we loved and adore talking to Alice, who is Canada's premier drag wrestler, professional drag wrestler in Canada, and just like the most amazing human being. Alice actually got recognized, I think, because of the podcast from one of our guests that runs the show Drag Heels, the reality TV show Drag Heels. So we're having Alice on because she is currently in season 3 of Drag Heels, which is airing as we speak. Like, I think it's like a weekly thing. Is it not? They didn't just release the whole season. Is that right?
I think it's a weekly series. Yes.
It's a weekly series. Yeah. So super exciting. And it's interesting because when I didn't really, to be honest, I hadn't seen Drag Heels before. I just watched some clips today of season 3, but I didn't really know the premise of it. So have you seen previous seasons, Hero?
I haven't even seen the show before. No.
Okay. So it's so interesting. It's basically, and I think this description, I think it's not just men anymore, because I'm reading this description, it says a group of men, but I don't think that's the case. It's a group of people who have always dreamed of being drag queens begin their journeys of creating their own drag persona. And it's essentially follows them through a 10-week course, learning what it's takes to be someone in drag, drag performer, before they perform for the public. So it's kind of like they're promoting a show also that will be that did air, or didn't, what am I saying, air, that was on in Toronto last summer, I think.
Right.
So super interesting from where Alice came from in the wrestling world and partnering drag, and how does that actually, technically she's kind of on quote unquote stage when she's in the ring, but how did that transpire or transfer, I should say, onto the stage? And it just seemed like there was a heck of a lot of self-discovery, a lot of vulnerability, and really just like I said, self-discovery in this series. So really stoked to talk to you, Alice, about this journey that Alice just went on, I think. Well, it's funny you say just went on, but I know it happened like last year.
Right. But when we see it actually come on, we realize that it's we think it's like, oh my God, brand new.
Yeah. So I'm sure Alice will also tell us this, but it is airing as we speak on Out TV, which I just got my first free 30 days trial. So you can do that, people, via Prime. I actually got that, so that was kind of cool, and I haven't had time. I'm going to watch the episodes in full, but really neat idea, and just really cool. So
very, very cool.
Yeah. So the last time Alice was on, I think we were talking about what our own wrestling super move would be, and at that point we were getting juicy.
Oh, right.
So I don't know what it would be now. It's probably the same kind of thing. What was our shtick? It was like squeezing a lemon rind in someone's face, or something ridiculous like that. Something like squeezing the juice, as in getting juicy.
Yeah, it was something like that.
I don't know.
What would yours be now?
Oh God, I don't know. That's What would yours be? I'm going to flip the question onto you. I've done a lot of talking already.
I think
I'm going to take a sip of water as you do that.
I think mine would be Hurricane Hero. It's such an easy
right now.
Well, yeah, like if I had to do so, I think Hurricane Hero it makes sense. It seems very appropriate, like for here's a hurricane, here we go. And it would be basically
here's the hurricane.
And it would be like the mentally make them so confused that they just end up spinning out and then passing out. Hello.
Hi, hun. It's
I feel like I just interrupted a really great conversation. Please continue.
Well,
but
Rachel
this is how we roll. That's how. Yeah, exactly.
Rachel and I were just talking about. Rachel said last time we were talking about like wrestling moves. What would our secret wrestling move be or something? So Rachel said, I honestly don't know. And so I said, well, mine would probably be Hurricane Hero because it can be mentally disrupting people to the point where they pass out and they're completely delirious and they just they just black out for being so thrown around mentally.
I think that would work. I request that I'm not the first to try it, because if it does, then
my mind's already a hurricane enough. I don't need any more of that shit here.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I'm already fucked up in the best way possible, so I'll try it out and let you know. I
was gonna say, like, what do you think our podcast is all about? But anyhow, it is so nice to see you again. It's it's so interesting following people's journeys on socials, because as we've been saying this for years, and social media was a thing. It's like I feel like I know you more than we do actually know each other, and I feel like it's almost like I've seen you recently, but that's also because I watched some little clips of Drag Heels season 3 today. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you so much.
It is so cool. Just before you popped on, we were just doing a little bit of a summary, so to speak. Not even a summary, just to capture, I guess, what Drag Heels is. Do you want to tell the folks in your own words, just because now you've been a part of it, like in your own words, what Drag Heels is to you?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, at its core, Drag Heels is really expression of different drag queens from across the country, really, coming together and creating their own one-person show, but really creating a sense of unity at the same time. And I think that's what's really unique about the show, is that it's telling all these individual stories, yet showing how similar we all are.
Which is so neat, because I kind of knew the premise of the show. I was totally honest before he popped on. I hadn't actually seen any episodes of the previous seasons or anything like that. So, but I didn't realize it is essentially a very in-depth, like, self-discovery too. Like it seemed incredibly, like, you even actually said, I think, talking about vulnerability, and that's something that we talk about on this podcast all the time, but just like how vulnerable you, like, were you expecting to have to be as transparent or as vulnerable as you were?
Yes and no. I mean, I knew to a degree what I was getting into, but I also know that I'm the type of person that doesn't share much. So I kind of went in with my guard up. But with that said, totally went in saying I'm going to have a blast and I'm going to have fun. But by the end of the series, and I don't want to give anything away, but every single person dug so deep into their soul and just poured it out. And not only did we put it on the stage for everybody at Buddies and Bad Times Theater in Toronto over 2 nights. I mean, it's on television for anybody around the world now. So that's a crazy thing for someone to do, especially for someone like me who is not used to sharing.
Well, it's interesting because you, like, as we knew you up until not that long ago, on your social was full, like, well, you're not like this today. You're not dressed as quote unquote Alice Starr. I mean, yes, you are Alice, but you're not what we would think of you as in your, I mean, what would you, I don't want to call it a costume, but it's persona.
Some people, people love to use the word persona. I think that applies for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk about, for you, I mean, that's completely the opposite from, I guess, what was really drawn out of you, I guess, in the experience, but perhaps.
No, entirely. You're definitely not wrong. Anybody that checks out my social pages, at official Starr. You'll see, and I still have the photos up. I would cover my face, and
Yeah.
I used to always say, who will people remember, Tyler or Starr? And that's why I always went with Starr, of what I envisioned it would be, just because I really didn't think that people would care about what this persona is, and that's just my everyday life. And Starr is an extension of that,
Yeah.
which is kind of a really weird way to look at it. Thinking that people wouldn't want to see you, even though the persona that you're putting out there is entirely you.
That's so true. Go ahead here.
So
I'm
how would
sorry.
you compare and contrast before and after the production and being in this experience and also watching it through now that it's out to the public? How do you feel about yourself now as how you present in everyday life in conjunction with how you present in your image?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because the show's only airing now, so we're only starting to get feedback, and
Right.
so the
Right.
perception is changing day to day. I do get messages from people who are watching it, and that means the world to me. People that I know and people that I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's a hard question. It's a great question, but hard question to answer because it's changing every single day.
Yeah, because because we haven't actually seen all the episodes, but I guess,
Right.
but in the other sense, it's like you finished wrapping this up months ago,
Sure.
right? So you couldn't talk about it. Could you even talk about that stuff with your partner? Like, could you talk about, I guess you
Yeah,
could,
I
it's not
mean,
the same. I just realized it's not the same as a competition reality show.
yeah,
So
see,
that's
that's the
not the
key.
same.
That's the
Yeah.
key, right?
There's no
There's
elimination
no
order.
spoilers to get out, right? I mean, I can say this or that about my performance or someone else's performance, but I think that takes the fun out of watching the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no real NDA or anything that's stopping us from talking about it. I think it's just a personal choice of saying, listen, watch the show. You're going to get way more out of it if I don't tell you and spoil it for you.
Right.
That's so true. Something else I just thought of too is like, yeah, because you're just saying, I think I'm just putting words in your mouth, but it's almost like, well, I don't think you said like, it's not like anyone would really care as much if they just saw me as Tyler, but it's just more Alice Starr might be more interesting, or
Sure.
does that at all kind of hinder your own self-confidence when you're Tyler? Because that just, to me, that sounds tough. Like for me, just with my own, insecurities and mental health challenges, I think I would have a hard time therefore being like, well, then does anyone really care about Rachel? Like, do I like, I don't just, yeah, I wonder if
Yeah,
that's
no,
like a
that's
challenge.
entirely, those are
Yeah.
the feelings that I have gone
Yeah.
through and, to a point still go through. Uh,
Hmm.
and I mean, it's hard to compete with the drag queen persona,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's something very special about the huge hair and the crazy makeup and the
Mm.
insane outfits.
Right.
I think people expect one thing out of that, and then they expect one thing out of me out of drag.
Hmm.
But the thing is that yeah, it's maybe an exaggerated version of myself, but it's not that far off. I mean, I'm in drag, I'm goofy, and outside I'm goofy, right?
Okay,
Like there
that's
is,
okay. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, and that's what this process really helped me with, was understanding who Alice was or is and who Tyler is, and how it really is the same thing. And
Right.
when you show that, the the honesty, and not that I was playing a role before, but really understanding who you are, is going to showcase in that drag. And I think everybody on this show did an amazing job of digging deep into their life and their experiences and bringing it to their drag, as
Right.
opposed to creating something new for their drag.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. That
Yeah.
totally makes sense.
How would you say you were saying you don't share a lot? Can you explain some times or experiences that have come up between now and since we last spoke to you, how your emotional vulnerability and your emotional resilience and intelligence has maybe developed, and also not in a way that it wasn't developed before, but your development of the comfort of sharing with other people, whether if this is your partner. I know that you are a parent, so eventually the idea of being a parent, which is super exciting.
Mhm.
Has this shifted your perspective in any way? The importance of sharing, even if maybe in the past it might have been less likely to be something you would naturally either do or wish to do?
Yeah, I mean, entirely. So for me, uh, it wasn't during the filming, but basically it lined up. My child was being his due date was right around the time we were filming the finale of Drag
Oh,
Heels.
wow.
And so
Okay.
literally could pop at any moment. And so you can understand through this process of I'm going to be a parent and a father, something I've always wanted to be.
Yeah.
But it's happening at the same time that I'm filming this.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's going to be happening any second. And literally within like the due date's within a week span of when we're filming it. So it could have been that day
Yeah.
I'm running out off the stage to the hospital with my face full, of makeup and hair everywhere and
Oh, that
crazy.
would have been amazing.
And so part of the process and the journey filming the show and developing the stage uh, show that I did for this was me really understanding my fears and acknowledging my fears of becoming a father, even though it's something
Right.
I've always wanted to do. And,
Mm.
and that's like, not that I've felt it's my life's goal. I mean, I have a lot
Mhm.
of goals in life, but ever since I was young, I've always dreamt of being a parent. And so
Oh.
here I am, and I'm in front of cameras, and people are pulling things out of me, and I have to confront it. And you see it in the show.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of my story at that time, and so therefore it comes out because that's what
Yeah.
was happening at that time.
Right.
So, okay. So then, well, then you just got me on the edge of my seat. So then what happened? When, like, the due date, was he late?
He
Like,
was, yeah.
like he obviously came. When did he come? Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
it's funny. You do see my partner extremely pregnant in it,
Yeah. Oh my
but
God.
yeah, I mean, it was it's such a huge moment in one's life, or in a lot of people's lives, I'd
Yeah.
assume,
Yeah.
that really to me it was about again acknowledging those fears. But why am I fearing? Why do I think I'm going to be a failing father? And
Mm,
it's because maybe I haven't confronted my own feelings of growing up and what I've experienced up until that point.
right.
And
Mhm.
those are all the things that kind of just came out, and I didn't expect to come out during the filming of the show, and
Wow.
it's on screen for everybody to see.
Okay. I don't think I've gotten to that part of the
No,
show yet. That's
as of
amazing.
filming this right now, I think my episode airs in a couple days. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure when this is dropping, but it may have passed or happened. But all throughout the series, obviously, as we get closer to the performances, people start sharing more and more because it starts to come together, and people get more comfortable talking to each other in front of cameras, and it
Yeah.
gets pretty crazy. But it always has the message of unity and coming together and being there for each other, because it's not a gotcha show. It's not there to expose anybody, or there's no edit where it's going to make someone look bad. It's just what happened on set, and this is how we reacted to the things that we were doing, the
Yeah.
exercises. um, it's all true, and it's all real.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
absolutely. I mean, so then, okay, so I'm going to take it back a little bit. So the process of getting on this show, I mean, what I think is so neat is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the first season maybe started with more general drag queens. Like was it more like all men
Yeah, I
originally?
think
Quote
so.
unquote, like and it just kind of, which is amazing that it's progressed to be so diverse now, which I think is so neat,
For
with
sure.
performers. And so I don't really know, my question is more just an
No,
observation that it seemed like the show's kind of
it's
progressed in that sense. And
Yeah, entirely. I'm gonna stop. You guys edit this, right?
We can.
Okay. I'm just gonna make sure you didn't hear my neighbor.
No, it didn't.
Okay.
No,
Just
not at
making
all.
sure.
No,
That's all
Not
I
at
was gonna
all.
do.
Not at
Okay,
you
all.
we
want to
don't need to
invite the
edit
neighbor
that.
over for the chat? You're welcome to come into the frame if they want.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like they're having a rave over there. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh,
We
no,
can't hear anything at all.
No, if it was sexy time, that might have been kind of fun too. So I mean, whatever. As
No
long as I
kidding.
couldn't hear anyone's like, legal names or anything. No. But
No,
we,
fair.
we love about the show though, is that like, or about our show is we actually rarely, if we can help it, edit anything out because we like it to be so real. We've had some really strange, kind of funny things happen, and just life happens. But no, I did not hear this.
Okay, perfect. No, to answer your question, in all honesty, the show has progressed in so many different ways. From what I understand, the first season did have cis males and
Yes.
traditional quote unquote
That's
drag
what I
queens.
should have said. Yeah.
Yeah. And season 2, it expanded quite a bit. There was drag kings on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So now this season, we've got people from all types of walks of life. We have people of color.
Yep.
We have people that are non-binary. We have people that are, there's a big thing on the show because people are always coming at me because I have a child that I'm the straight person on the show, which is a thing that's another discussion to have, which I think
we can have it if you want. It's totally up to you.
It's
whatever.
Fair.
Yeah.
I think there's a perception that because I have a cis female partner and that I have a child that I'm just straight or that there's no whatever. It doesn't matter. And I kind of make a point of that on the show, but ultimately really there are so many different types of people and they all have their own experiences of getting to where they are, and not every single person did drag before coming on the show, or at least not to the degree that they did.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because there's one person I think on the show that was or is a stand-up comedian. Perhaps not. Yeah, so perhaps not necessarily.
She did not really resonate, and I don't want to speak for her, but I know that it's on the show and says that doesn't relate to drag in the traditional sense. I think was kind of the quote. Right. Which is it's an extremely interesting kind of road to go down and to be on the show, because there is an element of drag. Of course, it's in the name.
Yeah, I love this topic though, because this fluid topic is so important to have, and just people's preconceived notions are what we would. Okay, I mean, can I be totally frank with you?
Yeah.
I did think before right now that I thought your partner was a man, that you were having a baby, and that there you go. And I didn't, and I'm just, being totally honest, but it's none of my business. So like, why would I wasn't going to ask. I had no idea. Like, we were talking before, I'm going to have a child. And I was like, that's amazing. I thought, okay, maybe he is maybe they have a surrogate. Like that's where my mind went, because it really is none of my business. And I never want to ask questions unless we're like, okay, do you want to talk about this? And then it kind of gets drawn out somehow. But I just wanted to make that point, because when you think, still to this day, when we think of drag, and when I think of drag, I think of, okay, well, a man going into drag is going to be probably gay.
Right.
Most likely. But that is not the case. And it hasn't probably been the case for quite a while. It's just, we haven't been exposed, I think, as much to reality. Like, I don't know, like what?
I sorry to cut you off. Yeah,
that's
no,
okay.
I definitely agree with you. But I think I do see myself as not an anomaly in itself, but like a little bit more unique in my situation, and that comes with its own challenges, right? I do talk about it on the show. I talk about how I'm not straight enough or I'm not gay enough, and I don't feel like I fit in anywhere, because people will assume one thing or assume another thing. And to me, that's forced me to not talk about it or want to talk about it. But now it's at the point where, I feel comfortable with who I am. And this process has definitely helped me. And it's always evolving, right? You're always, it's changing, and you go through ups and flows, but in all honesty, like, I think people are also scared to ask, and scared to talk about it because they don't want to push buttons, and totally get it. I love the respect. But for me, I try to be as open and honest with everybody as I can. And that just means, telling the truth about what my life is, and explaining as best as I can. And if someone can't get it, then that's their fault.
For sure.
100%. I think we're in this stage right now, this phase where it's so beautiful that everybody is able to just speak, be vulnerable. And I hate using that term, speak your truth, because I can't stand those kinds of popular expressions. They just drive me crazy. But I mean, that's kind of, for a lack of better statement, that's basically what I'm trying to say. It's great. But on the flip side, because we're also in this cancel culture, and again, I'm using these very choice words, there is this fear that people also, it's like, okay, well, I want to be vulnerable, and I want someone to be open about their experience, but I also don't want to offend. And I also don't want to, like, you're walking on eggshells, right? In that sense. So it's,
I totally agree. And I think there's a fine line and a balance. And I think it just comes down to the approach, and making sure that, each person feels respected. And then ultimately, everybody's a little bit different, and their experiences have led them to maybe not be as open and understanding. But it's hard. It's really hard. I don't think there's a one size fits all solution to having those conversations.
And what I'm curious to see as well, when the show is fully done airing and all the content has been released, do you see or foresee yourself being potentially in the seat of being able to be an advocate, and also be I don't like the term spokesperson, but being a voice perhaps for those types of situations you just spoke to? And if you were put in a position where you had the ability to, you might not know until it happens, of course, but have you given it some thought where you might be presented the opportunity to really speak up and to speak out? And if you did, how do you think you would experience that for yourself? And what would you want to do with that opportunity?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially in the wrestling world, I can really draw into that. I'm not sure if there's a tag or anything, but I'm Canada's first and only drag queen pro wrestler. And so for a lot of wrestling fans, I'm their first exposure to drag queens, and especially in the wrestling world, but just in general, in the sense that is a bit more current. Drag queens have been around forever, and drag has been around. And I mean, even look at things like Bugs Bunny or Mrs. Doubtfire, right?
Yeah,
like, that's all drag and people love it. But then when it comes to drag as we see it now on, say, Drag Race, everybody's the boogeyman to certain people. So in the wrestling world, I'm not setting out to be a spokesperson or an advocate or this or that. Of course, I am an advocate for love and making sure that everybody is respected and treated well. But at the end of the day, I think that's just an inevitability, because I am the sole drag queen pro wrestler in Canada. So I don't think it's a requirement, but I do think it's a responsibility.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely not a requirement. Nothing should be a requirement for anybody. Power of consent and choice and informed decision making, for sure.
We got a cat here.
What happened?
Oh, we got a cat. I thought he was going to make it serious, but I guess not.
Oh, that's okay. Actually, that just reminded me, we did do one recording with some very, very adorable two women in the Jewish community, who one of them was actually recording in her closet, like literally in her clothing closet, and her cat kept coming up over her shoulder. And like, anyway, yeah, lots of interesting recording spaces for sure. I have to say something before. I'm not that I would forget this, but the difference between, I feel like your confidence is just glowing. Like it's from when we first spoke to you, not that you weren't confident before, but I feel like something has shifted. Like you're
embodying and you're owning your own sense of who you are.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. So I just wanted to say that, like, there's something very, very, very nice. And
it's endearing.
Yeah. Do you feel that, Hero? Like I'm just going to put you on a pedestal now.
No.
Oh my gosh. I feel so, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And meanwhile, you probably have been like busy being a parent and being a partner and living your life. And you're just thinking, I'm just trying to go to bed here on the East Coast. But there's a sense of contentment that comes from the feeling of what you have been through in the last year and a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely appreciate that. I mean, because as much as I want to portray that, I also want to believe it myself. And sometimes it's hard to reflect on those things and think that you have had growth in your personality or emotional wise or whatever it may be, right? You always have that imposter syndrome. But at some point, like, it has started to wear off, and it's not like I think my shit doesn't stink, but I'm confident in who I am and what I want to put out there. And if I'm not doing that, then these dreams that I have cannot be accomplished. And it's not as easy as that, but that's the first step. You got to believe in what you're doing, because you have to believe it yourself, and nobody else will believe it if you don't. And that's kind of where I'm at in life, for sure.
Yeah. I love that. Well, and then you were saying about how, in our conversation already, how you're not sure, you always kind of, and again, I'm not putting words in your mouth because you did say this, you always felt like you didn't know where you fit in, you're just kind of, okay, I'm a bit of this, bit of column A, bit of column B. Okay, what does that mean? I'm not like defined as this or defined as that. And, I think that up until more recently, that's probably how a lot of us felt, because there were just boxes that everybody would, wants to put people in. And so, I don't know if you can take us, not that I want to go way back to your childhood or anything like that, but, because you were raised in Ontario, is that correct?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, what, I guess, what was the first inkling that you felt that you just didn't really belong? Or if you don't want to talk about this stuff, you don't have to, it's just kind of nice for people to kind of, I guess, see like how far you've come, I think, too. But
for sure. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that I've had it as bad as other people, especially on drag heels. Like, hearing these stories are truly heartbreaking. And I struggled with that on the show, of feeling like I didn't have a place to say anything because I haven't gone through as much. I'm not the most masculine person in the world. And so I would get comments really from a young age, but I really didn't experience the things that a lot of other people did from a young age, to the degree of it, right? There's so many stories about people being kicked out, being left behind by their families, abuse, whatever it may be. And to be honest, I didn't encounter that. I encountered bullying, but I think more than anything, it was internal. And from a young age and I'm still trying to figure out those little moments of what sets me off. But it really came down to, I don't know, I was just always a unique person, always a little bit, to use the word queer, right? A little, a little different. I didn't fit into one group. I wasn't here or there. I had friends, but it was really one person over there in that group, or one person over there in this group. And that really, it makes you feel like you don't have your own identity, because you don't have a group that you can relate to. You're really on your own. So really, I've struggled with that from elementary school all the way up to even today, where I feel like I'm not quite the same as this person or that person. The only difference is everything that I've done to this point has led me to believe that that's a good thing. That the fact that I don't fit in these different types of places means that maybe I have an opportunity to speak to a wider audience, and really spread out and say like, hey, everybody, you know, I'm someone that is maybe a little bit different, but maybe you are too. And you never know who you're speaking to. And that's what I just try and keep in mind, and celebrate you and your uniqueness.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's, I mean, and that's kind of the thing about, and I think I was kind of the same growing up. Like I didn't really know where I fit in, but it's interesting. I think also that perhaps maybe you can grasp, because you're so personable and you're perhaps maybe understanding of all the kinds of groups that are surrounding you, that's kind of what people need, I think, to therefore bring people together and bring, you know, the community, the unity together of humanity, essentially. It's quite a big thing to say, but
yeah.
You're bringing humanity together, Alice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I want to bring that back to humanity as well. When you talk about being a parent, what have your first observations, insights, takeaways, or kind of aha moments been being a parent, now that you have someone else in your life that's genuinely really at the whim of your own responsibility?
Well, I mean, that's exactly it, right? It's the idea of how do I guide this person if I feel like I can't guide myself? If I haven't acknowledged the things in my life, is he doomed to repeat them? And that's a massive weight on someone's shoulders, and something that I feel to this day. But it's as he's growing up and I'm seeing him develop. It's easier to see how your actions affect a young child. And so it's just keeping that in mind and thinking, oh my gosh, like, not that I don't want him to be like me, but more so, you know, what do I value in life and what do I want to pass on? And just keeping that in your mind at all times, I think is super important. And the thing that I would always just pass on is I want him to be whoever he is.
Yes.
And that's something that, again, I've acknowledged now, but I hope that he doesn't have to go through what others have to go through throughout life.
Sure.
Yeah. Which is so interesting, because I do agree with you, but also, you know, it's made us who we are too. You know, I mean, not that we should all have to be bullied and those kinds of things in order to like rise up against it. That's not really what I'm saying, but yeah, that's tough. And I'm not a parent, so I'm not going to preach to anybody about parenting, but you don't look tired though, by the way. It's like 3 hours ahead. You feel tired, but I don't know. I'm shocked. Tired. Okay. And the most important question that I have about being a father, will you introduce your young son to Pee Wee Herman?
Oh my gosh! Thank you for remembering.
I will remember that. Yeah.
There are Pee Wee Herman little trinkets around the house. I have I may have mentioned it before. I have this huge poster that's now in the basement on full display. Always make sure everybody can see it. I have a record stand where I've got all my music, and I've got some handcrafted Pee Wee art.
I remember that.
I had one of the famous Archie artists and writers, Dan Parent.
That's what it was. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, he created Kevin Keller, the first gay Archie character, which is in Riverdale, I believe. I haven't really watched the show, but I know the character is possibly in it. But so he made a Pee Wee Herman as an Archie character. And did a commission for me. And so I've got that framed. It's all over, most definitely. Pee Wee will be present.
Because, and then that actually brings me to kind of talking about, I'm sure we talked about this in the first episode with you, but some people might not necessarily watch that. If you haven't, you should watch it or listen to it. But influences for Alice. So I shouldn't assume anything, but was Pee-wee an influence? Was that kind of sort of out there? Like, who was an influence for Alice?
Yeah, I think indirectly.
Mhm.
I mean, Pee-wee is something that I've watched since I was pretty young, and
Yeah,
that's
me
probably
too.
lent to me being a little peculiar, because that is not quite
No,
the yeah. It's pretty strange stuff.
no,
Um,
yeah.
you know what? I find inspiration all over the place. If we're looking at artists and entertainers, I find a lot of inspiration through, one of my favorite artists is Elton John. I
Mm.
recently went to Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles for that
Mm.
final US show, which they streamed to Disney
Wow.
Plus. So I flew out there. I went to that concert. I'm a huge Elton John fan. Um,
Unbelievable. Was it
so
everything?
that's
Did it live up to your expectations?
I
Like,
mean, it was, yeah, of course. I mean, it
yeah.
would have been, I think about 40 years. I think it was 76 that he went. So it was, a long time since he had played there. And that was like the pivotal moment in his career, a
Wow.
Right.
big concert.
Yeah.
So it was a special thing. They had guests out. Dua Lipa was there. Kiki D did Don't Go Break My Heart.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
Brandy Carlisle,
Yeah.
tons of, Bernie Taupin, the lyricist, was there, and his kids and everybody. It was a huge event.
Wow.
And it's on Disney Plus for people that
Oh,
haven't watched it.
yeah.
So I find a lot of inspiration in throughout his career, because he's someone that has been very confident and very out there and has owned who he is,
Yes.
and hasn't been afraid to evolve. That's something
Right.
that I've tried to adopt, because you get so stuck in one thing and you're scared to change it up or just put things out there. But as someone who is
Mhm.
trying to be creative, you can't just hold on to things. You have to let it
Mm-mm.
out.
Mhm.
And so that's something that I've learned from him for sure. Um, yeah, inspiration comes from all over the place. It's really hard to pinpoint it.
Yeah. Does it change over time though? Probably too. Maybe.
Sometimes, maybe,
Yeah.
and it's less music now and more just things. Just uh, uh, it's hard to explain. Like, I mean, this sounds really silly, but I go into IKEA and like I get inspired by like how simple something is and how efficient something is, and I just think about how someone thought of that, and they're so creative to think of it this way. And silly things like that maybe just tip me off and go, oh my gosh, like I should just simplify something. I should, and I go and I change it and whatever I need to do.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really just seeing the beauty all around you, and figuring out like what resonates with you, and I
Yes.
bring it into drag, I bring it into wrestling. Everything that I do is storytelling, and really if you look around everything, a person or a thing, there's a story to it. There's a creation, there's a moment of creation, and those are the things that I think I always go back to, is those types of things, and then always being open. You never know when inspiration is going to hit.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
Mhm.
And I also recall that when we last had you on, I think were we like, was it kind of like things were just starting to open up? Because I think at that point you hadn't really hadn't really had a lot of matches. You hadn't really had a
Yeah.
lot of, I don't know, do you call them matches? Do you call them gigs? I'm not sure.
I mean, on the side, I call them gigs,
Okay.
but no, of course they were matches, right? But
Yes. Yeah.
I'm in the ring. This is wrestling. This is
Yeah, for
war.
sure.
Um, and so when I go out there and I'm wrestling someone, um, the stories that we're telling are real.
Yes.
There's sometimes there is animosity. Sometimes there's respect between you and that other
Mm-hmm.
person. And it comes out in the ring. That's
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing. We're there to tell our stories, and tell stories to the audience.
So how did I'm like totally cannibalizing this whole conversation here. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I say it like a broken record. It goes back and forth. Some
With
episodes are more one or the other, some are equal.
It's
So
true.
it's great.
It's so true. No, I'm just curious how, because I know it's late for you now too. We're already coming up on almost 45 minutes, but as you have kind of come out of the experience now of what you've done, yes, we have not seen the finale episode of the show. I understand that. So I don't want you to give too much away, but how has your wrestling changed since the show? Like have you and are you actually wrestling now? I'm sure that everything's open now, so you probably do have
For
matches
sure.
and stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed my wrestling in so many different ways. But I think the biggest thing that has changed is just my focus. I have a personal trainer, a dietitian. I am on the ball. I am someone that is ready to go at all times. And this really made me, I was always in decent shape and pretty focused. But by being able to expose certain things in my life and things that I've gone through, I was able to acknowledge them and then work on them. So now I'm more focused than ever. And I bring that into the ring every time I wrestle. Right now, I'm not wrestling because I have a knee injury. So I am on the shelf. But that is something that's part of your story. You have to realize that.
Yeah.
And every single day that I'm not wrestling, it just breaks my heart. Because that's the last thing I want to be doing is not being out there and sharing what I do.
Yeah.
But with that said, this show has been a great opportunity to showcase my wrestling, to show people around the world why wrestling matters and why it's not just some hillbillies, with their teeth watching it. These are people from all walks of life, out there showing exactly why, like, this is the perfect way to showcase who you are. And I think you'll see that on the show for sure.
I love it. I love it.
There was also another comment you made about, again, perception versus reality. And the performer or the artist that you mentioned was more of a stand-up comedian. I kind of come back, that kind of triggered my awareness. Not that I know their history super well, but like Dame Edna, someone that I don't believe was a lip syncer, or someone that was about that. They were more maybe sketch comedy, but more humor, and also utilize her persona to invoke change and to provoke the perspectives of the public to look at them in a different way. Because I think when it comes to, it doesn't have to be drag, but anything that is a persona or a mask, in the sense that you're not hiding, but a mask that you appear differently than how you might be without anything on top of it. It also lets people have more receptivity to the concepts of something, because like you watch a sitcom or a series, it might be real people, but unless if it's a reality show that's not very scripted, they're still delivering ideas or stories written by other people that are not based, like it's not happening in real life. You can go and rewind the episode, you can go and watch the ending, that it's like reading a book. There's a story and it's meant to end. A movie is meant to end. So I guess my whole turnaround for that is, it gives you the ability to transmit information in a way where you might have less captivation of other people that want to listen or to watch you. Right. So when your persona of being Alice Starr, do you feel that's also an opportunity for you, and maybe already has been, to then convey what it's like to be a wrestler in drag, and then some of those messages you might have delivered in the past that might have not sat in the same way? Do you find that they're sitting in different ways now with your current, the presence you have, I suppose, the platform you have?
Yeah. Of course, as I kind of mentioned earlier, like being in drag, there's something flashier to that sometimes. And so people tend to listen to you more in those situations. But I think what I'm trying to convey now is that you don't have to be one thing for people to care about you. You don't have to fit in one lane. You don't have to, you can be whatever you want. And that's really the point of Drag Heels. That's the point of what I'm trying to convey in everything that I do now. And that's why I'm not in drag right now, is because one, I want people to come see me and wrestle, and that's when I'm in drag.
Yeah. You
But
get the show
outside
then,
of,
people. Come on.
yeah, but outside of that, showing that you can have so many different sides to your personality, and and all of those are equally as valid.
Yeah.
Well said.
That's really well said. That's actually almost a good good place to end the conversation. It's really
it's a
well
great
said.
bookend. Yeah.
But before we actually officially end, because you said you got a knee injury, but how, I know, well, first of all, you already talked about your Instagram account, so how people can find you, but say it again and we'll put it in the show notes. And then I know you have the knee injury, but is there anything coming up live that anyone can expect to see you at, or just follow you to kind of find out when that stuff might happen?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely follow me at official Starr, because there are things that are coming up, and they're really, really, really exciting. It's going to be out soon, but in all honesty, like, just because I'm not wrestling right now doesn't mean I'm not doing things. And so there's tons in the work. And Starr is not going to just be Canada's first and only drag queen pro wrestler. Starr is going to be the first and only Starr. And that is my goal in this. This is my life's work, being shown to everybody, and I'm so excited for everybody to see what's next.
Amazing. So no drag family, closer. Just you.
Yeah.
You got to come to the West Coast then at some point.
You know what? I am.
What?
I will be coming out.
Okay.
Fantastic promotion out there that actually has drag performers integrated into their show. I think it's Glam Slam.
I was just going to mention Glam Slam too. That's so ironic that you just mentioned that.
Is that Vancouver?
Yeah, no, it's in Vancouver at the Wise Hall. One of my best friends, her partner, husband, is actually one of the MCs for Glam Slam.
That's sweet. Yeah. When is that? Okay, sorry. Like
they run different events.
Okay.
And
I thought it was like okay.
As soon as I'm healthy, I'll be out in the West Coast, and I've already been talking with them. I think we'll be able to figure something amazing out, and I'd love to see you guys there.
Absolutely.
Or where you are from Vancouver, but
we'll meet in. I'm down to Vancouver all the time, like 5-hour drive. But my family's all
very cool.
You do not have to drive.
No. I'm down there all the time. Like we moved from Vancouver to Aurora now, and we're there like every couple months because my mom still lives there. Blah blah blah. So, but anyway.
Well, and I'm here. I mean, that's
okay. You're there.
Important part. I mean, hello.
Right. Yeah, you know how many times I think I've said that so many times, like, well, my mom's there, and here is like, excuse me. Like, I think we've said that quite a few times. Foot and mouth. Yeah, this has been amazing. So great to catch up with you. I can't wait to watch the rest of the episodes, and all you folks will have to check out Drag Heels season 3, which is, can you say airing on streaming platforms these days? I guess you can.
I don't know.
That's a weird. Not really. That's like old school. It's streaming. It's streaming now on Out TV. And like I said before you popped on, is you can actually get a free trial of Out TV. And it's really, you know what? It's $3.99. I'm like plugging Out TV now. It's only $3.99 a month after that anyway. So no excuses. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely night and good sleep, and congratulations again on your successes and your new parenthood as your lifestyle, as part of your career. I mean, it's amazing. So keep up the great work, and we'll see you in Vancouver.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.